You have been able to adapt to the point that you could tolerate a Roloff.
Crazy train.
I second that. I don't care who you are. Hands up if you're ready for the zoo.
Other game plans weren't coming together, so it's time to move, time to move on.
Zach and Tori have officially confirmed they're out of Little People, Big World, LPBW, and they dropped the bombshell on their podcast. According to them, it's no longer worth sticking around for all the drama, especially when it's negatively impacting their kids. It turns out that Jackson had been pretty vocal about not wanting the cameras around while he underwent medical procedures, and Zach and Tori started realizing that being on TV just wasn't good for their family dynamic. They're tired of the never-ending, tired narrative about the farm drama and the constant focus on how dysfunctional the Roloff family is. They want to work on healing and improving their relationships, and honestly, the producers just weren't helping with that. For Zach, the tipping point came when he realized there was never an adult in the room to manage the chaos. He says he had a light bulb moment and realized it was time to call it quits. What was once a business deal, something they had been viewing as a job for years, now had their kids involved, finding their own voices, and they knew they had to make this decision from a parental perspective. And here's the kicker. They're done with being financially tied to the show. Zach's all about the idea of facing financial hardships in his 30s, not waiting until his 40s. Tori's on the same page, flat out saying it's time to cut the cord and move on. Sure, there were other points they touched on in the podcast, but these are the big ones they spent the most time on. Oh, and for anyone keeping score, Zach's little negotiating skills weren't exactly winning any awards. Had he stepped up with a bit more maturity and a solid proposal, maybe Matt would have been more open to his ideas. But hey, when you're dealing with ADHD and some arrested development, running a farm might just be a bit out of reach. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Red Bee. It's me, ELENA here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching, so let's dive into today's video. I just watched the episode where Zach and Tori start dating, and I can't help but wonder, is she for real, or did she just jump on the fame and fortune train? When I first saw their early dating moments, she seemed like a total blank slate. Super shy, no personality, barely speaking, just sitting there nodding while Amy asked about their wedding plans. How many people are you inviting? Amy asks. I don't know, Tori says. Every question. I don't know. Seriously, she was basically a mannequin at that point. But fast forward to now, and she's a completely different person. Opinionated, outspoken, and definitely no longer shy. It makes you question, was she being real back then, or was she just playing the game? Honestly, it's a toss-up. As for her motives, look, I think she's a little crazy. I wouldn't be shocked if the fame and the possibility of a cushy lifestyle were big factors in the whole relationship. Money? Not really. They're not exactly swimming in it. But here's the thing. Zach is not unattractive for a little person, and I'm sure Tori noticed that. But anyone who's watched the show, I'm sure she has, knows that Zach and Jeremy aren't exactly brainiacs. They barely scraped by in school, didn't get into good colleges, and yeah, they ended up at PCC, which, let's be real, is like the open door of community colleges. Jeremy eventually moved to LA for another college, and Zach got his associate's degree, but he hasn't done a thing with it. If Zach's family wasn't well off, I highly doubt Tori would have even looked his way. That said, I do think as a young, immature person, she was attracted to the lifestyle, rich family, fame, all that. But did she marry Zach out of love? I do think so, and she's definitely capitalized on their time in the spotlight. Financially, she's done pretty well. Tori's a smart businesswoman. Look at her Instagram, she knows how to turn a profit. And she's a great mom. Can't knock her for that. Honestly, her posts are one of the few I actually enjoy scrolling through. It's hard to say that about a lot of people. Do I believe their love is genuine? Yeah, I do. I've met them once, and they both seemed really nice. The way they look at each other, the way they talk, it doesn't feel fake like the vibe I get from Matt and Caryn. Now Caryn, that's a whole different story. I have never met her or Matt, but from the show and social media, I'm 100% convinced she's a gold digger. And as for Matt, he was hoarding all the money for himself back in the day, so none of the kids were seeing the dime. The whole influencer world that Tori's tapped into didn't exist like it does now, so she's kind of ahead of the game with her social media hustle. She's out here with more followers than Audrey, no problem. Why don't Tori and Audrey, or the brothers, get along? Is there some thread summarizing the drama? Well, from what I've gathered, they do get along, at least according to Zach's defense of Audrey a couple of years ago. But let's be real here. Tori and Audrey couldn't be more different in real life, regardless of their political views. I mean, I don't like every person who happens to share my political beliefs either, so let's not reach for explanations. Tori and Audrey just don't have much in common. Tori and Molly, on the other hand, are super close, but you don't see them constantly flaunting it on social media either. I'm not an Audrey fan at all. I'm sure she's a tough one to get along with, and she seems like high-maintenance central, which is the complete opposite of Tori and Molly. Honestly, I think Audrey ran the show early on and made the decisions for everyone. No matter how they tried to spin it, Jeremy was always in her shadow. Anyone who had any kind of inside view saw it. Why did they leave the show? Oh, that's easy. It was Audrey. She couldn't handle the pressure of being a new mom with Ember, the camera crew, PPD, and a baby who wouldn't sleep or eat properly. That's the real reason they quit, but of course, she's not about to admit it. She wanted total control over her family's image, and the cameras just didn't fit into that plan. Let's not just blame the girls for the tension though. I've been watching this show forever, and it's pretty clear that Zach and Jeremy are two very different people. I can totally see them getting frustrated with each other, venting to their wives, and then that whole mess building up into resentment. They're probably just happier living their own lives and meeting up for the occasional family event. Nothing wrong with that. I never expected Jeremy and Zach to stay close. They were tight growing up as twins, but their personalities are too different for them to have that brotherly bond that would last into adulthood. As for the farm drama, I've seen comments suggesting that Jeremy didn't get the farm, and that's what caused the rift. I didn't watch the later seasons, so I don't know if Zach ever wanted it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Matt didn't want Jeremy to take over the farm and change everything. I mean, imagine Audrey and her parents coming in and tearing down all of Matt's work to make it fit their dream family. Matt had always dangled that farm in front of his kids, making them feel entitled to it. Honestly, it's no surprise that Molly seems like the only one who doesn't care at all. And, of course, there's the speculation that things fell apart over the farm. Jeremy and Audrey wanted to buy it, but according to their posts last year, something killed their dream. And that was right around the time everyone started noticing the family wasn't as close as they used to be. Poor Lila. She has a mom who definitely isn't a girl's girl. Tori's the tough type, nothing gets to her, emotions are for the weak, and Lila's feelings. Oh well, those are just annoying. Tori dismisses them completely. It's like Lila's just some delicate flower who needs a more loving, sensitive mom, but instead, she gets Tori, who seems to think emotional depth is for suckers. Honestly, Tori is a total disaster as a mom, like 100%. I was listening to them on a podcast where they were talking about how the cameras don't show everything, how it's unfair that so much of Lila's crying moments made her look bad. Yeah, they're upset, but let's be real. The cameras didn't make Lila look bad. You two did that all on your own. It's totally normal for a toddler to throw tantrums, but what's not normal? Parents publicly trashing their own kid for acting like a toddler. That's a whole other level of messed up. Then Zach chimes in about how Jackson is totally different from how he was as a child. Well, from where I'm standing, Lila seems a lot like Zach was back then. And hey, she's adorable, just like he was. He's got that nice demeanor, after all. Oh, and let's talk about that one episode where Leela found out she needed glasses. Tori was devastated because she thought Lila wouldn't look cute with them. You could tell she was honestly upset about it. It wasn't about Lila's well-being or her vision, it was about how she'd look. Tori really seemed like she just wanted a mini-me to parade around like a doll, all cute and easy to show off in a stroller. Honestly, one person on here nailed it. Tori probably saw Lila's glasses as an accessory. It's honestly kind of weird and shallow. Tori just doesn't come across as a great mom at all. Zach and Caryn. That's a delightful topic. From the last episode, it's pretty clear Zach has issues with Matt, but when it comes to Caryn, it's like he's got a personal vendetta. We don't have the full backstory on what exactly set him off, but it's safe to say there's more to the drama than meets the eye. I'm with you though. Zach seems to see right through Caryn, and let's be real, he probably thinks she's just another money-hungry fame chaser. But hey, I can't blame you for being curious. Sure, Caryn has her own money, her own house, and she's taking care of her dad. Plus, she walked away from TLC, didn't get booted like Zach and Tori. But I get it, she's easy to look at and assume she's after something. After all, who wouldn't be suspicious of a woman in her position? You mentioned that Matt and Caryn used to babysit and Jackson seemed to adore her. It's not that I'm calling Caryn fake, but something doesn't sit right. That whole affair thing with Matt? Yeah, it happened, and sure, it's not exactly groundbreaking stuff, but still, not a good look for her. Matt's not exactly innocent either, he should share in the blame. But you're right, that whole thing happened ages ago, and Amy? Well, she's obviously moved on and remarried. Still bitter though, but genuinely happy, I guess. Even her new husband gets along with Matt and Caryn. So I'm with you on the who's really fake here train. As for Amy, this is just classic soap opera material. She seems to despise Matt and Caryn, but then has dinner parties with them. Pick a side, Amy. The hypocrisy is enough to make anyone dizzy. But hey, I guess we all have our moments of questionable decisions. Life's too short for grudges. It'd be nice if they could all swallow their pride, get over it, and fix things, for the grandkids, of course. But here's the kicker, Caryn does need to apologize. She's got to own her part in the mess and show some humility before Zach and Tori can bury the hatchet. We'd all like to see a family reunion, but with Caryn involved, who knows? Now, about Matt and Caryn. Do they look like a couple in love? Not exactly. Sure, Matt's getting older and facing some health issues, and Caryn? Well, she's there, and let's just say she's sticking around. And that could mean there's a little more than just love involved. The scene on the bench? Major red flag. It was just off. The whole vibe was like a twisted will they won't they, but with a financial plot twist. Caryn's mask is starting to slip, and if you look closely, it's not a pretty sight. And Matt's will? Yeah, I'm sure he's thought about it. But let's talk about what happens if he marries Caryn and, God forbid, passes away. Does she own the farm now? And if she kicks the bucket, do her kids get it? Definitely a cause for concern, especially when you toss in the idea of Caryn making some comments during negotiations. This could get messy, and the kids are probably wondering the same thing, what happens to the farm? Oh, and the whole Chris situation? I mean, with him not having hairs and all, it's a lot more straightforward. But with Caryn? Yeah, definitely more complicated. So yeah, I'm guessing Caryn's words might have set off some alarms in the negotiations. Time will tell if it all blows up, or if they can work out the details before anyone really notices. I'm genuinely shocked at how sad I am about Jeremy not getting residuals. Audrey's Q and A this weekend really threw me off. Apparently, they haven't been paid in 6 years. His dad basically exploited him, letting him work as a minor so he could pocket all the cash. And on top of that, didn't even give him a discount on the farm. Look, I'm not exactly a Jer and Oj fan, but even I can't help but feel the frustration. Here's the thing though, they did get paid. Audrey and Jeremy want their own spin-off show, which honestly feels like they're just trying to get a fresh contract. Why else would they keep dragging their kids and themselves into the spotlight? Is their life that extraordinary? Please. They're just hoping someone will bite and offer them another deal. Now, as for the residuals claim, if Jeremy didn't get paid for his work as a minor, that means none of the other kids did either. Audrey and Jeremy could easily sign their own contract, like Zach and Tori did, and start making money that way. It's not rocket science. Also, how did Jeremy afford a $1 million house if he wasn't paid by TLC? Maybe he got one lump sum, but that definitely doesn't account for reruns. And let's be honest, they have plenty of money. I have no sympathy for them. These two are sitting on multiple properties, buying random expensive things, and Jeremy had enough money right out of high school to buy a house and marry Audrey. TLC or their parents clearly helped them get started. It's not like they were out there hustling for every dime. And let's be real, when was the last time Jeremy had a real job? As for the residuals, really, the show isn't airing reruns. Sure, it's on Discovery Plus, but no one's getting paid every time an episode streams. The money only rolls in when episodes air on broadcast, not when they're streaming. So this whole residuals thing, not buying it. But I will give them one thing. I respect the fact that they left the show. They're definitely more distant from Matt than Amy and Zach are. Matt's a narcissist, and frankly, everyone should just go no contact with him already. Stop feeding into his drama. And let's not pretend Jeremy and Audrey aren't exploiting their kids in some way. Last night, Amy and Chris definitely had a bit of a showdown. And honestly, while Chris isn't entirely wrong about Amy needing to get a handle on her stuff, I can see her side too. I mean, she took all the belongings from a 5,000 plus square foot house and crammed them into a 2,000 square foot space. That's not exactly a 5-minute job. But as much as I can't stand her, I get it. Amy tends to get stuck in the past, and it's like she can't let go of anything. She needs to figure out how to move forward, but maybe that means she should have a conversation with Chris and tell him to slow down. They're not exactly in a race to have kids or anything, so there's no need to rush through life. Here's the thing. Amy's got it all. She has everything most people could only dream of, and I mean everything. And yet, she still manages to whine about it. If I were her, I'd start showing some gratitude before it all gets taken away, because it's all so fragile. Now, let's talk about her housekeeping skills, or should I say lack of them. Amy's lazy, plain, and simple. She only cleans when it benefits her, and honestly, she's a disaster in the house. Chris has a long road ahead of him if he plans to turn this ship around. That comment she made about being back on the farm was just, wow, totally unnecessary and rude. But hey, it makes for great TV, doesn't it? So, about the marriage part, which already happened off-screen, Amy really should have had more space after her split with Matt. She should have lived on her own for a while, worked on herself, dated Chris, and kept her independence. But no, she jumped right into living with him, which in my opinion is a disaster waiting to happen. It's clear Amy still has some unresolved issues, especially with her self-esteem. Chris may seem soft-spoken, but he's pretty much Matt 2.0, and it doesn't look like he's giving her the emotional support she needs. Instead, he points out all of her flaws, which is not exactly the gentle encouragement she deserves. What Amy needs is a serious dose of therapy. She's got issues with feeling inferior and coping with change, and she needs to work through those things before she even considers merging her life with someone else. Right now, I don't see how this relationship is healthy. She's too focused on protecting her identity and keeping control, and Chris is probably going to end up playing the role of the punching bag for all her unresolved frustrations. Honestly, if Amy were more upfront about her struggles, like, yes, I procrastinate. I've got boxes of old stuff. I hoard sentimental things like Girl Scout badges and unfinished knitting projects. Maybe it would help. She could at least warn people so they don't get caught up in her mess. But instead, she gets defensive and digs in her heels. What surprises me most is how often people defend Amy and bash Matt. Yeah, neither of them is perfect, but Matt had a point when he called her out on her hoarding. Now, Chris has gently pointed out that Amy is taking forever to make space for him, and her response is to attack him. She can't take a little constructive criticism, which frankly is baffling. It's like she's never even considered that maybe, just maybe, she could be the problem. It's almost like she's still treating life like it revolves around her. If Amy keeps acting like this, I wouldn't be shocked if the wedding gets postponed indefinitely. Chris is going to have to decide whether he wants to keep dealing with her immaturity and stubbornness. He's already dealing with a lot, but at this point, I'm just waiting for the inevitable disaster to unfold. So I listened to the first half of the latest podcast with Audrey and Aj. Oh my God, for the first 10 minutes, Audrey is just on a full-on tirade against Jeremy. I mean, she's literally yelling at him, calling out his entire family as crazy. Yep, she actually used those words. It was so painful to hear, I couldn't even finish it. I was like, nope, I'm out, and switched it off. Seriously, how do Amy and Matt even stand being civil with this insufferable little princess? She's constantly throwing judgment their way, like she's some sort of authority on life. Newsflash, sweetheart, you wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for them and the show. She's awful. But hey, they're beating 50% right now, so that makes everything fine. Honestly, anyone who takes marriage advice from these two or buys their cheesy relationship products is wow. Just wow. They must be missing a few brain cells to fall for that. And wait, wasn't that the same kind of crap we saw Amy and Matt do to each other for years? They talk to each other like garbage and gossip behind each other's backs. I mean, it's almost like they're following the exact same script. But hey, Zach and Tori's podcast is different, right? Sure, Tori does most of the talking because, Zach is too busy being Zach. But at least they don't tear each other down. Usually, they're lifting each other up, literally boosting each other's height. Haha. Audrey calls Jeremy's family crazy, but she wouldn't have a fraction of what she has without them. Let's not forget that little tidbit. I mean, yeah, Jer's not exactly Father of the Year material. That would drive me crazy too. But Aj, I can't stand her either. Honestly, they should have never gotten married. They're like two totally different people who can't even fake being compatible. But honestly, they're both equally easy to dislike, so I guess it's a tie. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.